Hey there, this is your teacher, Mr. H, and you're watching History in a Hoodie. Today's episode is about India's independence, where we will learn all about how one man stood up to the British Empire. I can't wait to find out, so let's get this show started. What are we learning about today? The standard for today's lesson asks the students to describe how nationalism led to independence in India. Then we will describe the impact of Mohandas Gandhi's belief in nonviolent protest. Before we start, let's go over some vocabulary for today's lesson. The caste system are the hereditary classes of Hindu society. Nationalism means identification with one's nation and support for its interests. Civil disobedience is the refusal to comply with certain laws as a peaceful form of protest. India, like China, was originally not just one country or group of people, but several. As has been the case in several places around the world, what better to unify a bunch of separate groups across the subcontinent than a common enemy? The British. Great Britain became very interested in India very early on. For anyone who has ever eaten British food, it is very bland, so it is not surprising that the Brits became very interested in the spice trade, and many quality spices came out of India and the region. The British took control of the region in the mid-1800s and continued to control India for nearly 100 years. During this time, a tiny number of British officials and troops, about 20,000 in all, ruled over 300 million Indians. The British encouraged the caste system divisions of society to make controlling the population easier. While the Brits brought railways, irrigation, and medicine to the subcontinent, Britain took advantage of their colony economically, as they did so in many other areas of the world. Many Indian people did not like the British rule. Where have we seen this before? This dislike of the Brits led the various groups of India to start to see themselves as one people, who needed to rule themselves. They began to feel nationalism. In addition to the differences in people, the region also contained a major difference of religion, a huge divide in Hindu people and Muslim people. Once again, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, at least temporarily, meant that even religious lines could be crossed for people to work together for an independent India. Mohandas Gandhi was originally a lawyer who lived in Britain and South Africa before returning to his native India. He recognized that his people were suffering under British rule and sought to make change. He witnessed the failed attempts at violent change by his people and proposed a non-violent protest instead. This provided all Indians an avenue to participate in the struggle against the British. He believed in the concept of civil disobedience, or refusing to follow laws that are unjust. For example, in the Darsana salt marches, Gandhi believed it was unlawful for the British to require Indian citizens to buy salt only from the empire, when an affordable source was easily obtained by walking over to the seacoast. His people faced extreme violence from British officials. Gandhi was regularly arrested and sent to prison for his protests. They couldn't keep him in prison too long because Gandhi would begin a hunger strike. The British leadership knew if Gandhi died in their custody, then the populace would riot, so they would release Gandhi after a few days of fasting. His protests were noticed in the national news media, Gandhi and his followers looking like victims as the violent British police forces put down his protests and marches. The public opinion on British rule began to change. So what? What changed because of Gandhi's protesting? As with many of Britain's overseas territories, keeping control became too difficult from afar. The leaders of the Indian colony began negotiating independence, and in 1947 India was granted its independence from the empire. Self-rule would come to the continent. However, the uneasy peace between the different religious groupings of the region would still come into conflict. The Indian map in 1947 covered the entire subcontinent, pretty much everything south of the Himalayas. Today, the map is very different. Despite Gandhi's attempts to hold the young nation together, the uneasy alliance of Hindus and Muslims fell apart when they no longer had a common enemy. Very much a political problem. Hindus didn't want a government run by Muslims, and Muslims didn't want to have to follow the lead of Hindus either. With no compromise in sight, the answer was to divide the subcontinent into two nations, India for the Hindus and Pakistan for the Muslims. which then included the two territories of West and East Pakistan. East Pakistan today is independent Bangladesh. Today, the divide between Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan is still a struggle. When the lands were divided in 1947, areas with a majority Muslim population became Pakistan, and areas with a majority Hindu population stayed in India. In most cases, minority populations remaining in these areas moved to their respective countries. This was less clear in certain areas like the state of Kashmir, right on the Himalayan border. Both India and Pakistan claim that the area is a majority their people, and citizens have refused to move from their homeland. 3 wars have been fought over Kashmir, including most recently in 1999. This conflict becomes even more concerning when we consider that India developed the nuclear bomb in 1974, and Pakistan joined the nuclear nations as well in 1998. Should any full-blown war break out between these two countries again, it may go nuclear, and it may draw in other superpower nations, including the United States. Wow, so learning about Gandhi is really important for me to understand. I'm glad I learned it today. Are you ready for some review questions? How did nationalism lead to independence in India? What was involved in Mohandas Gandhi's plan of civil disobedience? What happened in India as a result of Mohandas Gandhi's campaign of civil disobedience? I hope all of you learned a lot from today's episode of History in a Hoodie about the Indian independence movement. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Just kidding, I don't care about that stuff, but do make sure you study this lesson. Bye now!